There is a stone tablet sitting in the basement collection of the Cairo Museum. Catalog number GA 2091. Most visitors never see it. It is cracked down one side, the hieroglyphs worn smooth in places, and it has sat in that room largely untouched by the public since French archaeologist Auguste Mariette pulled it from the sand at Giza in 1858. Most people walk right past it, but carved into that limestone is a sentence that mainstream Egyptology has never fully resolved. It states that when Khufu came to Giza, the pharaoh credited with building the Great Pyramid, he found the Sphinx already buried in the desert, already ancient, already forgotten. And somewhere beneath the plateau, Khufu found traces of something older, something the inscription calls the House of the Hidden. And the text says, Khufu ordered the surrounding ground sealed, not cleared. Sealed. The Inventory Stele, as it is formally known, was discovered during excavations of the Isis temple complex adjacent to the Queen's Pyramid, G1C. Mariette initially believed it was a 4th dynasty inscription, an eyewitness account from Khufu's own era. But stylistic and comparative dating placed the stele's manufacture in the 26th dynasty, approximately 650 BCE, more than 18 centuries after Khufu. Mainstream Egyptology dismissed it accordingly. A later dynasty mythologizing an earlier king, political invocation, ancient flattery. For decades, scholars dismissed it as symbolic. Then a second source said the same thing. And that second source was carved not in Memphis or Thebes, but in a temple 600 kilometers to the south. And it was older than anyone expected. Here's where it gets strange. Carved across the interior walls of the Ptolemaic temple at Edfu in Upper Egypt is one of the most unusual bodies of text in the ancient world. The Edfu building texts, studied in full only since the German Edfu project began publishing complete translations in the 1990s, describe the founding of the first sacred enclosures on Earth. Not by pharaohs, not by human architects, by beings the texts call the Shebtiu, the primordial ones, builders who, the text states explicitly, came before the gods, descended into the earth, and prepared the first sacred chambers before the age of the pharaohs began. For centuries, those passages were read as pure myth, creation allegory, religious metaphor. But when you stop reading them symbolically and start reading them technically, 3 specific passages become very difficult to explain away. If this is the kind of buried history that the mainstream doesn't cover, subscribe now and turn on notifications. We do this research every week. The first passage describes the Shebtiu descending into what the texts call the cavity beneath the sacred mound, and placing there the Jed of the first time. The mainstream reading, a symbolic pillar, a theological object representing stability and permanence. But the word Jed, in its oldest attested usage, does not just mean pillar. It refers to a standing, vertical structure, something built inside a pre-existing hollow, a shaft. In 1999, Zahi Hawass led an excavation of a structure discovered in the causeway zone between the 3 major pyramids at Giza. What they found was a multi-level shaft cut directly into the bedrock. 3 levels, descending nearly 30 meters. The lowest level was flooded with groundwater. At the bottom, submerged, sat a granite sarcophagus, unsealed, empty. Not similar to the Edfu description. Not inspired by it. The same. The second passage describes the Shebtiu constructing what the text calls the seat of the first occasion, a chamber cut from living rock with passages extending outward in 4 directions. The mainstream reads this as a cosmological model, the cardinal directions of creation. But that explanation has a problem. In 1991, geologist Thomas Dobecki and Boston University geologist Robert Schoch conducted a seismic survey of the Giza Plateau using refraction tomography and reflection seismic profiling. Their instruments detected a subsurface void beneath and in front of the Great Sphinx, a rectangular anomaly approximately 12 meters by 9 meters, located at a depth of between 5 and 8 meters beneath the monument's front paws. The Egyptian Antiquities Organization was formally notified. Independent excavation was requested. It was denied. The anomaly has never been excavated. It is still there. The third passage is the most precise. The Edfu texts describe the Shebtiu leaving behind what translates most directly as the record of the followers who came before. In Egyptian, the Shemsu Hor, the Followers of Horus. Ancient Egyptian king lists, including the Turin royal canon, document the Shemsu Hor as a ruling class that governed the Nile Valley before the pharaohs. For a cumulative period, the canon records as 13,420 years. They weren't guessing, they were recording. Modern Egyptology classifies this as mythological convention, filler figures, to bridge the gap between creation and recorded history. But in 2017, a study published in Nature Communications analyzed DNA extracted from 90 ancient Egyptian mummies spanning multiple dynastic periods. The results showed a genetic discontinuity in the pre-dynastic population, those buried closest to the oldest layer of the plateau. Their genetic signature was distinct. It didn't match later dynastic populations cleanly. It faded through time, and no clean explanation for its origin has been formally established. Now, does this prove the most extreme version of the story? Probably not. The Inventory Stele is a late period inscription and cannot be read as a 4th dynasty record. The Edfu texts carry mythological structure even when they encode technical information, and the pre-dynastic genetic discontinuity may reflect regional migration rather than an unknown civilization. But that doesn't make the discovery ordinary, because what you are left with is this: 3 independent sources across 3 different eras, a stone tablet, a temple inscription, a royal king list, all describing a class of beings who existed before Egypt's recorded history, who built underground on the Giza plateau, who sealed something inside it, and whose physical traces have been seismically detected and then quietly set aside. It was sealed, it was mapped, and then it disappeared. Here is what that would mean if even part of it is accurate. There existed, prior to the accepted timeline of Egyptian civilization, people with the technical capability to cut multi-level shafts 30 meters into solid limestone bedrock, to survey and map underground topology with enough precision to encode it into 3 separate texts across 15 centuries, and to deliberately seal what they found with the clear expectation that it would remain hidden. They weren't building monuments for glory. They were hiding something specific. And the location they chose was not random. The Giza Plateau sits on a formation of nummulitic limestone above one of the deepest fossil water tables in the northeastern Sahara, a place where carved passages could survive, where anything sealed inside would remain intact for thousands of years. There is one final question that no official excavation has answered. When Hawas's team reached the 3rd level of the Osiris Shaft in 1999, they documented tunnels extending outward from the flooded chamber, additional passages leading into the bedrock in directions that were not explored. Hawas's own published report noted their existence and cited rising groundwater as the obstacle to further investigation. That was 1999. The water table beneath the plateau has since dropped measurably due to ongoing drainage efforts across the site. No follow-up expedition has entered those tunnels. No permit for independent seismic reanalysis of the Sphinx anomaly has been approved. The researchers who raised the questions publicly went quiet, or moved on, or were denied access so consistently that the questions simply fell away. Somewhere beneath the Giza plateau, in the dark of a granite-cut passage that was sealed before the pyramids above it were raised, those tunnels are still open, still waiting. Whatever the Shebtiu placed in the cavity beneath the sacred mound, or whoever they actually were, has not been found. The sarcophagus at the bottom of the shaft is still empty. The rectangular anomaly beneath the Sphinx's paws has still never been opened, and the official record still calls the beings who built it a myth. If this investigation shifted something for you, hit the like button and subscribe. Every week, we go back into the record and pull out what was left behind. And if you want to keep going, the video on the sealed antechambers beneath the Valley of the Kings is waiting for you right now.